what would you say to your 5-year-old self, your 13-year-old self, and your 21-year-old self?
When I was younger, and even throughout most of my young adult years, life happened in spite of me. Life went well. I was a happy young person. I did well in school. I had a lot of love from people around me. And so I go back to my 5-year-old self and I say, pace yourself.
Right.
And enjoy the moment as you go. You have so many years ahead of you, and that's how you're gonna have to live the rest of your life. Pace yourself. My 13-year-old self, that was where I was early secondary school, trying to figure out my place in the world. I was a goofy, super playful 13-year-old, just teasing people, just enjoying life in my mind as a 13-year-old. I didn't take my academics very seriously. So to my 13-year-old self, I would say a little seriousness will not hurt you.
Right.
You could do more with yourself if you were a little bit better organized. It's good to be curious, because I was a curious teenager. My 21-year-old self, young, early adulthood, that was the moment of confusion for me, because I had lived my life according to a certain template.
Right.
Up until that point, and I was discovering that there was more to life. There were more ideas that I wanted to explore, but the template had been so rigid that it felt difficult breaking away from. I had a chance to leave home around age 20 to go to the US. So here I was on my own, figuring things out and learning to become an adult in a new land, and being exposed to a lot of new ideas. And some of these things made sense to me, but it didn't fit the template that I had grown up with. So trying to navigate those spaces was a lot of internal conflict. So I go back to that 21-year-old me and I say, this is the way it's supposed to go.
Right.
You're supposed to challenge the ideas that you live with. You're supposed to ask questions. You're supposed to be curious. It's okay to question the status quo. And that was the beginning of my transformation. It took a while, but my transformation into coming to a place of peace.
Right.
Because I had to sort out which ideas from other people were helpful for my journey, which ideas that I needed to embrace and hold on to because they helped me.
Right. The reason why I use those specific ages is because these are seasons in our lives. The 5-year-old is where we're still having our formative years and we've got all these things ahead of us. Teenager, you become a teenager and your curiosity changes. You start challenging what you see as the norms. You start challenging your parents. Most teenagers are struggling to identify who they are. They're trying to define themselves based on their peers, not based on what parents are saying. Mom and dad says you're handsome, you're beautiful. Yeah, mom and dad will say that. But then when your peers are saying you're ugly, you're not fit for purpose, those are things. So the teenage years are quite challenging for a lot of children. So these are seasons, and then when you get to 21, if we follow let me use the UK standard educational path, by 21 you've got your degree. And then you're supposed to go out in the world and work. So these were seasons for you. So how do we prepare?
It's very helpful when you use the word season because it prompts the metaphor, right? That life, like even a year, has seasons. And so the things that come to mind is seasons are phases. There's certain things you do in certain seasons. There's certain things you do in certain seasons in preparation for the subsequent seasons. And it helps to look at life that way. So then when things are going not well, you don't just look at it as this is just bad stuff, but you look at it as this is probably an opportunity to prepare for what's to come. Generally, how I would advise people to think of seasons in life is to identify the seasons to begin with. Because if you don't identify the season you are in, you're not gonna apply the right principles and right ideas, and you might miss the opportunity. If you think of farmers, they are probably the best example of how people manage seasons, because he knows to prepare for the planting season, I need to clear the land. To prepare for the harvesting season, I need to tend to the crops.
Yeah.
So I think that's the simplest example of how we prepare in different stages of our lives. One, identifying what season it is and what are the things that we need to do in that season.
Wow.
So that we can benefit from what's to come.
So seasons are great, and we all go through these seasons. But I like what you said. You need to identify that it's a season. And even if I add this word to it, our attitude towards the seasons of life either make or break us.